Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're all over the place today. We are welcoming SuperNfty
Hey,
into the lounge. Welcome. So for
hello there.
for those people that might not know who you are, or just in general have questions of where you started, what your background is, because I originally saw your work in there was this tweet where someone showed your process of doing the 3D, and I thought it was really cool. And I saw some of the floating heads originally, and this is back when it would be like an OpenSea drop would happen, and you had to get in there in like the first 30 seconds or it was gone.
hmm
So I never ended up being able to get one of those floating heads. But yeah, so give us a little background of how you started, where you found NFTs.
Yeah, all right. So my name is SuperNfty. Well, my name is actually Sander, but I go as SuperNfty. And yeah, I'm an artist. I make art in VR, and my style is like these. I like to call them designer toys of the metaverse a little bit because they float. And Yeah, I started out with the floating heads almost a whole year ago. I think we're at 11 months ago now. Anniversary soon. Um, and Yeah, that was a very big part of my journey. The floating heads, we made one a day for like 6 months, and that's how I had my start. How I went from a total nobody to a little bit of somebody in the NFT space. And like you said, it was a lot of fun. We released them weekly, and like people tried to get like had to wait all week to get in on the drops, and it was a lot of fun like that. And then the floating heads were finished. There were only 264, and I was only going to do that many. So we wanted to expand the community because that's what everyone was doing at that point. That was in like September, October. And we weren't gonna miss that bus either. And also, like making like these huge projects seemed like also a fun challenge. So we made the imps, and that's the big collection right now. Um, yeah, it's a 10K. The imps are a 10K collection. It's very similar to the floating heads, although the base shape and stuff is a little bit different. These are the floating heads on the screen. Yeah, they're all custom one of ones. The spirits, the imps are computer generated, but like of course all the traits are 3D modeled the same way the floating heads were in VR. Um, and yeah, that's what we've been doing for the past months. Now we are giving everything that the floating heads had, which are the 3D files and the webcam filter, which I'm showing off right now. Giving all that to the imps as well. So that's rolling out right now. And then our next venture, as you may have seen some sneak peeks on Twitter here and there, is the spirits, which is kind of my answer to providing long-term value to collectors. So it's kind of the spirits are kind of like if the imps would be the trainers, the spirits would be like the Pokemon. So they'll be one of one artworks, really fun to make for me, and I'll be giving them away for free to imps and floating head collectors, and that way I get to make something really cool. Another collection. I love making collectibles. That's really where I really have a strong passion for that. So this is yeah, that's one of the
Cool.
a screenshot of one of the spirits. And
So
yeah,
for the spirits, it for instance, this one, would this have been built off of one of the imps that person already has an imp that sort of looks like this, and you're reimagining that same imp in a different form?
no, not necessarily. So the spirits are really going to be um, much like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. It'll be like custom collectibles. made up every week by me on Twitch streams.
Oh,
So I stream it as well, so collectors can watch and have a say in it. And there'll be multi-edition collectibles that you can evolve by burning the base ones, and then you'll get an evolved version, and so on. So if you own an imp, you'll get actually more than one random spirits. You'll be able to mint them. If you have a floating head, you'll get even more. The exact numbers aren't. We're still discussing, so I won't talk too much about the exact numbers. But yeah, this is the next thing. Also about these screenshots that you're showing, they are actual just screenshots from making them in VR. So of course they'll be rendered out and animated afterwards as well. So they'll look even more crisp than these you're showing. But yeah, that's it. I
yeah.
know like it's more than like it's very it can get very complex for a lot of people. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun and
So
yeah.
for these spirits, um, you had mentioned this is sort of that like next step that you're going on with it. And is that basically the idea of the evolving portion of it? How often would they be able to evolve? Is it like based on the person decides, or is it going to be like every X amount of months or weeks?
No, you'll be able to like if you have three of the same, you'll be able to burn them and get the evolved
Okay.
version. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
So it's more of a
to make
burning
the
mechanism.
yeah to make the evolved version a bit more scarce and have a fun system like that. And the spirits are really like the. I was thinking like how can I one um, keep providing value for my collectors, and two, keep making art because I love doing what I do. I've been making these floating characters for a whole year now, and I just can't get enough of it. So I want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And like my way, the best way I know of providing value is through my art, because like if you're a collector of mine, then I guess you like my art. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and it also sounded like a really fun thing to do,
Yeah.
and it's like what I would want from an NFT collection if I would be like if I'm a collector. I thought this would be really cool. So
Yeah, and I
that's right.
feel like what you're doing is pretty unique as far as like a lot of these PFP projects, and that's why the imps one was really interesting to me because not many of them are doing this sort of VR ready
Hmm.
and not like creating a massive metaverse and like doing their own thing. Um, you'll see on here, like, they all basically move, and some of them are slight movements. I mean, you see this guy. I like the ones that you did with the punks where he's,
Mm.
like, holding a phone and he's showing you his phone, and it seems like all of these were imagined basically from something in, like, pop culture, or basically, but then the imps were more like you had set traits. So, where did you sort of come up with the floating heads, like each individual one? Were these just like arts that you thought of, or you had maybe like a past like you really enjoyed? Um, One of them was like Johnny Bravo. I remember like you had one that was a Timo from League of Legends. Like, were they suggested from people or just things that you had been following?
Um, I think like not all the floating heads are tributes. Actually, like the majority is are not. And yeah, I think they all like the floating heads are a really good like the floating head collection as a whole. I think is a really good um, representation of my taste in art or like what I think looks cool, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I made 7 a week, one a day for half a year, and the inspiration really came from a lot of different places. basically, I really love like these chibi kind of creations, like big heads, small bodies. Well, in
Yeah.
my case, no body. And I really like how designer toys look. Like I really like that vinyl toy, matte plastic feel and look. Personally, I wanted to bring that into my collection as well. And then like stuff like street art or like artists like 1000 or Vex or like stuff
Mhm.
like that. I really like. Um, and yeah, it's the floating heads are basically a like my brain made in 3D. Like that's basic. Like the
Yeah.
collection is just how what I think looks really cool on designer toys, on metaverse toys. And then the imps are actually a lot of the traits from the imps are actually taken from the floating heads and
Yep.
made to so the floating heads are in a lot of ways like they are really are truly are the Genesis collection for
Yeah.
the imps and for everything I do. So
Yeah, and I see here you one could argue that you invented the rainbow puke trait. Like people
Hmm.
talk about it with the doodles, but I mean, here we go.
I
This
was
was
first.
Yeah, you were first. This was created a year ago. So,
Yeah.
maybe they got their inspiration from you. We had a
Mhm.
question from John. He was asking where you're from. I know this answer, but I guess explain how like where you're from and um it how big are NFTs out by you? Because to
Mhm.
me, it's like it's more of a global thing at this point, but even a year ago, I'm sort of surprised that there was enough sort of interest across the world that you would have found NFTs.
I'm from Belgium. A lot of people might hear from my accent that I speak Dutch in my first language. Um, yeah, so I'm from Belgium. I mean, Central Europe, access to the internet. I've been watching YouTube my whole life. Always, I never watch TV.
Yeah.
I'm just online all the time. So I mean, it's yeah. I stumbled upon NFTs through an interview with Ferocious.
Oh, okay.
And then I got onto Rarible and I saw artworks which Pepe's were a really big thing, and there was like chubbies were huge back then. Um, and what else? Yeah, so like the Sylvia Puff's work, like the Piffs, I think were on
Oh, yeah.
Rarible, and I think they really inspired me. There, I was like, wait, there are 3D artists in here. I can do 3D. I have to try this. And like 3D art was also pretty rare. Like there weren't any. I think I was I. I think I was pretty much like like the floating heads were pretty much the first 3D animated NFT back then. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But yeah,
You
I
have to
can't
start
think of a
claiming
project
that
that
because
was. Yeah.
people love when you're the first of something.
Yeah. But then, like the Earth project Earth was the first 10K 3D animated project. So I can't say the
Okay.
imps were first, but I think the floating heads were before Earth. So maybe yeah, maybe it counts. Maybe I can claim that actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about working in 3D in that format. Have you been doing that for a few years before getting into NFTs? And if so, like to me, it's been cool to watch videos of people going through it. And I know you said you stream them as well, but um, talk a little about how much more difficult it is. Are you using an Oculus? I'm guessing. Um,
Yes.
Now, how much more difficult is it, at least to get started? Because I've talked to a few different the VR artists, and to me,
Hmm.
it seems like they have way more fun doing it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
even just looking at this right now, like to do those horns is probably in a sense easier to do in the VR format than if you're just like using a computer.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Like the organic shapes are way easier to do in VR than it is on a computer because you like on a PC. Um, well, let me start at the beginning. Like, I am from I have a background in product development, so industrial design. So I could do 3D on a PC very well already. Um, and yeah, but I was used to the very industrial way of 3D modeling, not ZBrush or Blender, where you can like sculpt a little bit. And compared to what I was doing, like VR is the complete opposite. Like where shapes, um, like blocky shapes or like very measured shapes were very easy to do on a PC. It's actually difficult to do in VR. But then the opposite, like very or more organic shapes, are like I would always do them in VR now if I were to do anything organic looking, and which is what I'm doing right now. And like you said, like working in VR is well, it's not necessarily easier in general, but like for what I'm doing, I wouldn't want to go back to trying to do
Yeah,
that in
let's go back.
ZBrush. I think sculpting for game development or for toys is like VR is a very good tool, and I think it's definitely the future of sculpting in a lot of ways. I think the
Yeah,
programs are going to be better, like the VR to PC streamline is also going to get better and better once more people start using it. I actually I skipped a few steps, but I did a PhD. I started doing a PhD about that, exactly that, like trying to um, yeah, so I kind of fell in love with VR modeling also during my education as an industrial designer, and I was trying to with my PhD prove that VR makes you more creative because you're like the possibilities are infinite, and I was kind of trying to do research about how VR influences your creativity, but also your efficiency and stuff like that. Um, because I started doing NFTs, I now 2 years later quit my PhD though. But yeah, I was actually researching that before I started doing NFTs.
yeah. So you're full time just NFTs
Yeah.
now, doing working on these projects. Um, Now, what sort of made you decide, like, this seems right to me? Was it, I mean, I know you were mentioning before that you have over 12,000 people in your Discord, so definitely have a decent sized following. So, at what point did you decide to start doing this full time?
Um, I think the decision that I wanted to do this full time was already made before starting the floating head. Like just when I learned about NFTs, I was like, "Holy crap! Making art can can make a living now." Like I was always under the impression that if you wanted to make art, you'd become like the starving artist stereotype was
Yeah.
very much a thing, and I never saw. I always made art because I love doing it. It's something that I have in me and I need it as an outlet.
Mhm.
Um, but I never saw it as like a real thing people like you could pursue as a career. And then I saw NFTs, and of course, like you see NFTs, and then you see like some of the money some of these projects can rake in, and I was like, okay, I have to go for this 100%. And if
Yeah.
like the decision of me wanting to do art full time was already there like years in advance, And then I think what made me make the jump is that I actually, with the floating head, started to make more money than I was earning with my PhD. Like I was like, I and then the step was, what made it even easier was like I was so into the NFT space and I couldn't not think about anything else anymore.
Yeah.
So much that when I wanted to work on my PhD, I like literally couldn't, like, reading a scientific paper.
Yeah.
Although I did love my job as a PhD student. Already a pretty fun, like, you have a lot of freedom, and you can do actually already do a little bit whatever you want, or you can research whatever you want. But then, like, picking up a scientific paper after, like, spending so much time in, like, the metaverse,
Yeah.
after, like, someone bought a floating head for like $1,000. I was like, now I have to go back to the boring reading a scientific paper. And
Yeah.
at one point, I think right after the summer, it was, I just couldn't go back to the boring tasks of doing a PhD anymore. I like the NFT space grabbed my attention that much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I kind of, similarly, like, had a different job. I was relatively happy at that job, but then once you sort of dive into NFTs and start playing around with different things and seeing all the cool stuff
Mhm.
every day that pops up, it's kinda hard to then go, like, read something or, answer emails to random people, or, like, people complaining to you through an email. It's just it's a whole different world, and it's kinda cool how much of it has developed in the past year, basically.
Mhm.
Now we're pretty much a year out on when NFTs started to sort of, I don't wanna say that they became mainstream a year ago, but I think they started sort of ramping up,
Mhm.
um, as far as that goes. So, yeah, and then, for you building these teams, are you reaching out to any other projects? Are you trying to work with other, artists or builders in the space right now?
Constantly. Yeah, I think like networking on Twitter and like marketing your project is like probably Wait, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, you might have just cut out there for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You're
okay.
back.
I don't know where was I?
Um, Grouping with other projects and artists.
Yeah. So yeah, I was saying like the that's a huge part of the NFT space. Like um, it's like just like art, like traditional art, you had to do it way more. I think even like basically hitting up um, uh, places where like where people could see your art and stuff like that used to be like almost the whole job of being an artist. I think now it's like 80 to 90% of the job, but like it's still very important to get your art out there. If people don't see it, they
Yeah.
won't, like, they don't know about it. So um and yeah, I think collaborations are the most fun, the easiest, and the most transparent way of getting more eyes on your project. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely constantly doing that.
And now you can just, you sort of one random post on Twitter that you have, maybe you're showing one of your streams of creating a piece.
Mhm.
All it takes is one of those just becoming viral, or the right
Mhm.
person retweeting and seeing it, to grow, versus, like you're saying, like, having to, say, submit applications to these
Yeah.
different, and I'm not sure if you ever did anything like auction houses, but, um, you can so much easier submit something on OpenSea, Rarible,
Mhm.
Foundation, like all these sites to get your name out there, and you have the target market in those secondary marketplaces already, which is
Mhm.
really cool with NFTs. Is just the way that you can easily connect. You're cutting out a lot of the middlemen.
Mhm.
So like that's pretty cool. Now John is asking about the overlay and which overlay for the avatar. I believe you're mentioning before. Um, would people that own one of the super nifties, are they able to use it in the same way that you're using right now?
Yes, the floating heads already have it. All the floating heads have in the unlockables on OpenSea. There's a link to a cloud folder where they can access all the files, including the 3D files. So they can also 3D print and use their floating heads in AR. The imps, we're working on it. So the imps already have a cloud folder as well, which is not on the OpenSea page, but on our website. Because like there's a difference between doing a 10K project because it's ERC 721, and then OpenSea was still on the OpenSea contract. So that's why they're separate. And on the website, like the imps already have the access to the 3D files completely. So AR and 3D print is there. And we are currently processing and working on getting the VRM files, which is what you need to do this for a webcam filter, um, out there as well in the same folders. And it'll be out in maybe 1 to 3 weeks, I would say. Like I won't give ourselves too much of a deadline,
Yeah.
but it'll probably come out this month, definitely.
So
Yeah,
still relatively soon.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
cool. Yeah, maybe John is interested in getting one for himself to have on an avatar for one of these streams. I think that would be kind of cool.
Hmm.
The imp that I have has I believe it's a knife in the mouth. Um, I have one
Right.
that's like that, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, I might end up getting different ones, maybe one that like speaks to me more. That was
Hmm.
one that I minted. Um, I like to do that with some projects, especially after sort of the initial hype sort of um, levels off in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
and I can like search through and find one that I like.
yeah.
Um, because that's what happens with crazy. That was the crazy thing with imps is um, it was kind of like one day. I'm not sure. Was there like a specific influencer who like bought and posted about them? Because it seems like one day they went from like
Hmm.
5,500 to the sell out in
Yeah.
an hour. So how did that feel for you? Because I know that was probably a pretty cool feeling.
Oh, that night was crazy. It
Yeah,
was so awesome. We also took a few pictures. I'm glad we can relive that a little bit. But yeah, we were like we didn't sell out in the beginning. I think we sold out like 2000 in the beginning, and then it was a very slow grind for like 2 to 3 weeks, I think. And then indeed, like one day I posted the video that is still on top of my Twitter page pinned right now. And that got like more traction than a post I would normally make. And then what happened is I went on a Twitter space, and then I went on another Twitter space with Danny Ukes. And Danny has been a huge, like I owe a lot of my success to him, I think. Um, but he's been a huge supporter of the floating heads for a very long time, and he's also a pretty big influencer in the space.
yeah.
And so I went on a Twitter space with him. That kind of blew up. Okay, I'll wait a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm playing the video if you're on just audio version, but it is kind of cool. It shows a little of the process of making them. Now
It's
for
very
for
loud
me,
for me.
this
I can't hear you anymore.
oh you can hear it.
Yeah. No, no, no. I can hear the video. I can't hear you. These are the spirits. Yeah, there we are.
Okay,
All right. Yeah. So this video started something, and then like I felt like it might be in the air, and then sales started to pick up, and then I think Von Doom tweeted about it and said
Okay.
he had minted a few, and like, but it it's not like Von Doom's tweet. It was already kind of blowing up. Like volume was going crazy, but then Von Doom's tweet really like kicked the ball down from
Yeah.
the hill or whatever, however you say that. Like he brought it home, so to say.
Yeah, and it's one of these things that we talk about a decent amount with these um, projects where there's almost a point in which it almost is guaranteed to sell out at that point. Around like 70%
Hmm. Hmm.
or so, because especially in a case like that where if it was sitting at 5,500 and then 1,000 people go to mint, um, then a lot of people are tracking that type of thing, like what the hot mints are. So they start seeing it come through and they're
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, I'm running out of time. I need to hop in." And you're seeing like how cool, because a lot of them were already revealed at that point, right? So they're seeing how cool a lot of those, like the higher end ones, were with like all the horns, the
Hmm.
black, the
Hmm.
red, the white. So I think that definitely helped it, but it was really cool to watch because I was someone who had, like, already minted from
Hmm.
before, and I was just sitting on it. I was like, "Yeah." To me, it just looked different than any other really, like, PFP project, and the fact that some were moving, you could have the VR files eventually. To me, it was just, like, a matter of time,
Hmm. Hmm.
that at some point it would fill out. So, um,
It
I was
felt like
definitely
that to me as well. There were a lot of people in the Discord asking to like burn half or like stuff like that. Like
Oh, yeah.
the collection failed. We need to, like, if it doesn't sell out in the first day, that means the collection failed
Yeah.
at this point, which didn't used to be the case at all. Like a year ago, like a collection selling out months after was still like, well, oh well. Let's not get into that too much,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's to me it felt like that as well. Like it was just a matter of time because I knew there were a lot of eyes on the project, and it felt like we just needed a little push somewhere because like the price they were going for on secondary was still fine. Like the average was still 0.05, which was the mint price. So it's like I yeah, I'm very glad and also kind of proud that I didn't give in to those people telling me to
Yeah,
burn half of my
definitely.
project because that would have been such a shame.
Yeah. Now, do you think you would ever create more, maybe as a separate collection, but like the one of ones, like the floating heads? Do you think you would ever create like a secondary collection that's similar?
It would have to be in a way that doesn't take anything away from the floating heads or the imps.
Yeah.
Like that would be, and that's difficult to do. I get so many DMs and also like people like offering a lot of money to make them a custom floating head. Like I get that a lot, but it would it would mess with the whole ecosystem that we have going on. And I
Hmm.
think one of the most important things is to appreciate and to keep like reward it. Don't take anything away from those first collectors. Like the
Yeah.
people who bought the floating heads. A lot of them are still huge collectors of mine, or a lot of them are friends of mine at this point, and
Yeah.
uh, like I do all owe all of my success to them. So I'm like I maybe something in the future, but it would have to be in a way that it doesn't take away anything from the floating heads, and I think that'll be very difficult to do. So um, right now, I would say no, never. But maybe at one point there will be a way to do it so it doesn't take away. But I haven't
Yeah.
found a way yet, so probably not actually. So what I
Yeah.
am doing is the toys, the super
Oh,
toys.
okay.
So those are custom, and I can do those because I can give a huge discount to collectors of mine, and they're very different from floating heads and imps. So it doesn't take away from any of the collections, and I can actually reward my own collectors by
Yeah.
giving them a huge discount on those as well. So
Yeah, is that something that you can say make a custom in VR and then print out like a 3D model of?
yeah, yeah. It's
So that's what
definitely
you're doing?
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, that would
exactly.
be cool. Have you ever done any 3D modeling, like physical modeling of stuff?
Physical modeling? Do you mean
Like a
sculpting with
3D
clay or?
printer. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
maybe you design it in the VR, but then you print it out in a 3D printer.
Yeah. There's many examples of that. Actually, Floating Head 100 was a big thing. That like the 3D print file, like not the file, the 3D print itself, because I'm an industrial designer. I have a lot of experience with 3D printers. I was basically an alpha tester for 3D printers. Like I've been doing it like for years.
Yeah.
So I've been printing for a very long time. And like Floating Head number 100 was that one was we gave away the 3D print um, itself, and we painted it as well. Like my girlfriend is also very talented, and she painted it, and then I signed it personally, and we sent it to the address of the buyer, Ape Star,
Yeah.
um, who is also a very like a good friend and a treasured collector in the Discord.
Wow.
And he still has the 3D print on his mantle, like his
Oh,
fireplace.
yeah. I wouldn't give that up at all for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Wow, that's
And
pretty cool.
that's like it's possible with all the floating heads. I've seen many people print their floating heads because they have the 3D files, and we will definitely do more of those as well. I 3D printed and painted my own board ape, for example, which is like a super toy kind of thing. And like the toys, we also make in two pieces always. So they're custom toys based on any NFT that you own. I model them live on a stream, and I sell them to people, and I give a 50% discount to my collectors,
Wow.
and they can 3D print them if they want locally, which is very much playing into the Web3 decentralize everything idea,
Yeah.
because it's like really fun that I can even cut out the manufacturing middleman. Like it's like I just send you just buy the file through the NFT, and then you print it yourself, and
Yeah.
there's no transport, there's no manufacturing, like everything's decentralized. I really like that as well. So which is
Wow.
not to say that we'll never do actual toys. We probably will, because that's kind of a dream of mine, to bring out my own actual vinyl toy collection. But for now, I'm really enjoying playing with like innovating and being on the edge of technology, where it's like decentralize as much as possible and
Yep.
give people access to the commercial rights, and like let them 3D print or do with the characters whatever. And then it's really fun to see that as well for me. So
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for hopping on with us today. Like we're definitely happy to bring you on. Like I said, I've been following you for a little bit. I'm gonna have to hop in the Discord. I didn't even know that the Discord existed before this, but yeah, I'm super interested in the floating head idea. I think I'm gonna keep watching and see what the prices are, because the ones that I really like are already like super high priced.
mm,
Like
yeah,
like the unicorn one I was looking at, that's like 13 ETH, and then there's just a few other ones that I'm like, oh, this one would be cool to have, and you look at the
yeah.
price and it's like 40 ETH, and so it's kind of crazy. It seems like, I mean, they want to hold it, and I mean, if there's only going
Mhm.
to be 264 ever, like I understand that, but
Yeah,
that's why I had to get my hands in on the imps when I saw that drop. So
yeah.
um, so it's definitely great having you on today. Is there anything else you want to plug or links?
I think that's probably the link to my Twitter and Discord. They will be in the description, I would think. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, I just
at
need the
SuperNifty
Discord,
on
but
everything.
oh,
It's
okay,
just at
perfect.
super like it's discord.gg/SuperNifty without an I,
Cool.
so NFTY. Um, SuperNifty on Instagram, SuperNifty on Twitter, everywhere. Yeah, and I think that the most up to date info you can always find in the Discord, and then secondly Twitter. But Twitter is a bit more difficult to organize the information. So probably if you want to keep really up to date, Discord would be the best place.
Perfect.
All
Cool.
right.
And for those watching, I'm doing another stream later today with Lucky Trader with the guys from the Smilesverse. I don't know if
Cool.
you've looked into them much, but they're doing a competition for the Super Bowl this weekend. So I'll be
Oh
having
yeah.
them on later today as well. But thanks for coming on. Well, I'll add the Discord to the notes. I already have the Twitter page in there, but if I see any other cool links in there, I'll be sure to add it into the description
Okay.
as well.
Perfect.
So thanks for hopping on today. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Thank you.